This is an introduction to frequency. We are going to be talking about descriptive statistics, and as a reminder, descriptive statistics helps you organize and describe your data. So if we're going to organize and describe our data, we probably need some data. So here's a question. How many years have you been employed? And here's some data that goes along with that question. Now, one question we might ask about this data is how many students answered the question. So again, the reason we're using statistics is not just because we love using statistics, but we have questions that we want answered, and statistics are a means to an end. They're a way for us to easily pull these answers out of the data. And this question is a perfect example of where we want to let the computer, the statistics, do the work for us. Because how many students answered the question, we could just take our finger and count 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, how many students answered the question. The problem with using our finger and counting is, first of all, we might make a mistake. And second of all, with this particular set of data, we have 22 people that answered the question. But what if we had 50, or what if we had 100? That's not something that we want to sit and count. So we let the statistics, we let the computer do the statistics to do the work for us. So 22. I had a statistics professor once who used to talk about frequency and counting and said that even a horse could be taught to do frequency. And so whenever he talked about frequency, he'd stomp his foot, 1, 2, 3. And so whenever I think about counting and frequency, I think about Professor Majidi. All right, another question that we might ask is, what is the range of years that students have been employed? And range is another way to describe the data. Now, in Excel, which is what we're going to be using to do our statistical processes, Excel does not have a formula for range, but it does have a function that will show you the minimum value and another function that will show you the maximum value. And once you have that, you know what the range is. In this case, the range is from 1 to 5 years. Another question that might be asked is, how many students have been employed for 1 year? So now we're getting a little more sophisticated in our questioning. We're not just counting, we're not just looking for the lowest and the highest number, but we're doing something a little more sophisticated by saying, let's just look at the 1 year students and then give me the answer to that. So very often when you ask that kind of question, it's presented in a table like this. This is referred to as a frequency table, and you'll see that the answers, the number of years, are down the left side, and then the number of responses are next to it. So it's very easy to make sense of the data when it's presented in a table like this. So you can easily see, oh, well, 2 people said 5 years, and 2 people said 1 year, and 5 people said 4 years. And, it's very easy to see it. A table is one way to represent it. Another way to represent it is with a graph. So the table is usually referred to as a frequency table. The graph is usually referred to as a frequency graph. And part of what you want to decide when you're communicating the results of your evaluation is what's the most effective way to share the data that you want to share with the people that you're sharing it with. So that is frequency.